The Forgotten Asylum. The wind whispered through the skeletal trees, their barren branches reaching skyward like pleading hands. Set deep in the forest, veiled by decades of neglect and urban legend, stood an asylum. Its crumbling facade and boarded windows told tales of abandonment, yet its imposing silhouette was a reminder of its former purpose. The place was simply called Ashenwood Asylum, a name that conjured images of cold stone walls and the faint cries of its long-gone patients. Rumors swirled around the asylum, of experiments that went too far and spirits that could never rest. Few dared to approach it, and those who did often returned shaken, muttering about shadows that moved on their own. Chapter 1. The Dare. Shino had heard the stories all her life. A skeptic by nature, she dismissed them as tales designed to scare children. But her friends were insistent. "It's just an old building," she said one Friday night, tossing the flashlight into her bag. "Then prove it," retorted Liam, the ringleader of their little group. And that was how she found herself walking through the forest with her three best friends, Liam, Mina, and Kai. The air grew colder as they approached the asylum, the light of the moon filtering through the canopy above. "Looks harmless," Mina said, though her voice wavered. The wrought iron gate creaked ominously as they pushed it open, revealing a courtyard choked with weeds. Shino shivered as she saw the entrance, a massive door adorned with rusted hinges and peeling paint. "Ready?" Liam asked, smirking. "Let's get this over with," Shino replied, determined to prove there was nothing to fear. Chapter 2. The Asylum Awakens. The interior was worse than she imagined. The smell of mildew hung in the air and graffiti-covered walls bore strange, almost ritualistic symbols. Flashlights flickered as the group stepped inside, their footsteps echoing through the desolate halls. "This place is disgusting," Mina muttered, kicking a broken tile. "Do you feel that?" Kai asked, his voice low. "Feel what?" Shino snapped, her patience wearing thin. "The air, it's heavy." They moved deeper into the asylum, their nervous laughter fading into silence. The shadows seemed darker here, almost alive. Shino caught movement in her peripheral vision but dismissed it as her imagination. Until it happened again. "Did anyone else see that?" Mina whispered. "See what?" Liam asked, though his bravado was waning. "The shadow, it moved." Shino frowned, aiming her flashlight at the corner Mina had pointed to. "Nothing. Just cracked plaster and peeling wallpaper." But as they continued, the feeling of being watched became impossible to ignore. Chapter 3. Whispers in the Dark. They found themselves in what appeared to be the main ward. Rows of rusted beds lined the room, their thin mattresses torn and decayed. Shino ran her hand over one of the bed frames, feeling the cold metal bite into her skin. "This must have been where they kept the patients," Kai said, his voice tinged with unease. Then they heard it. A whisper. Soft, barely audible but unmistakable. "Did you hear that?" Liam asked, his flashlight darting around the room. "It's the wind," Shino said, though she wasn't convinced. The whisper came again, this time louder. It seemed to be coming from the far end of the ward. Against her better judgment, Shino led the way. Her flashlight illuminated a door slightly ajar, revealing a staircase leading downward. "I don't think we should go down there," Mina said, stepping back. "Scared?" Liam teased, though he didn't look eager to descend either. Shino ignored them and pushed the door open. Chapter 4. The Basement. The stairs creaked under their weight, and the air grew colder with each step. The basement was vast, its walls lined with shelves of medical equipment. But something was wrong. The shadows here were too dark, swallowing their flashlight beams. A single chair stood in the center of the room, its straps frayed and brittle. Shino's heart raced as she noticed the faint outline of a figure in the corner. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice echoing. No response. The figure didn't move, but the shadows around it seemed to pulse, growing and shrinking as if alive. "Let's get out of here," Mina begged, tugging on Shino's arm. But the door at the top of the stairs slammed shut. Chapter 5. The Shadows Speak. Panic set in. They banged on the door, screaming for help, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers returned, louder now, overlapping and incomprehensible. Shino turned her flashlight back to the chair, only to find it empty. The figure that had been in the corner was gone. The shadows surged toward them, a tidal wave of darkness that swallowed the light. Shino grabbed Mina's hand, pulling her away, but the others weren't as lucky. Liam's scream was cut short as the shadows engulfed him. "Run!" Shino yelled, dragging Mina and Kai through the labyrinthine basement. Chapter 6. The Truth. They stumbled into another room, slamming the door behind them. The whispers subsided, but the air was heavy with dread. Shino's flashlight illuminated a series of documents scattered across a desk. The papers detailed experiments conducted on the patients. Experiments meant to separate the soul from the body. They were trying to trap souls, Kai said, his voice trembling. That's why the shadows move. They're the patients. Before Shino could respond, the door burst open and the shadows poured in. She felt an icy hand grip her arm, pulling her into the darkness. Chapter 7, The Asylum's Secret. When Shino opened her eyes, she was back in the ward, alone. The asylum was silent, but the shadows remained, watching. She tried to leave but found herself trapped in a never-ending loop, the halls shifting and changing. The asylum didn't want her to leave. Years later, urban explorers would find her flashlight near the basement stairs, its battery long dead. Her friends were never found, and the asylum remained, its shadows waiting for the next visitors foolish enough to enter. Some say Shino still roams the halls, a flickering shadow among the others, forever searching for a way out.